A reading from the beginning of the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, Lord.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came to be through him, and without him nothing came to be. What came to be through him was life, and this life was the light of the human race. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. A man named John was sent from God. He came for testimony, to testify to the light, so that all might believe through him. He was not the light, but came to testify to the light. The true light, which enlightens everyone, was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world came to be through him, but the world did not know him. He came to what was his own, but his own people did not accept him. But to those who did accept him, he gave power to become children of God, to those who believe in his name, who were born not by natural generation, nor by human choice, nor by man's decision, but of God. And the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. And we saw his glory, the glory as the Father's only begotten Son, full of grace and truth. John testified to him and cried out, saying, "This was he of whom I said, 'The one who is coming after me ranks ahead of me, because he existed before me.' From his fullness we have all received grace in place of grace. Because while the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God, the only begotten Son, God, who is at the Father's side, has revealed him." The Gospel of the Lord.
It's interesting on this, the last day of the year, that we have the beginning of John's Gospel. We call this the prologue of John. So, yeah, he speaks, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Very rich, deep, mysterious, few verses in the beginning of John's Gospel. In fact, in the what we call it, the extraordinary form of the Mass, or the Mass prior to 1962-ish, or right in there, the Latin Mass, the Mass that was celebrated in Latin. Anyway, after that Mass, they would always proclaim this gospel. Pretty much every Mass that was said, they would proclaim the prologue of John. It was a whole different kind of setting, so it doesn't make sense in our setting, but it was always proclaimed. So the church has always held the prologue of John in high regard. So again, it's just fitting as we kind of, in our worldly calendar, we close out the new year and we're about to begin the new year. Tomorrow, we have the prologue of John. And I guess the church always kind of sets us up for success, puts the next right step in front of us kind of thing. Maybe it was a little bit what's going on. But it is rich. So John's all about the Word. The Word was made flesh. The Word was with God. In some of his letters, he would speak of the word of life. Okay, this word of life came down from heaven, that stuff. So he hangs on this notion of the word. And if you really think about it, it's a little bit weird, or interesting at least. The word was with God, the word was made flesh, things like that. Well, in Latin, it's called logos, the logos. And I had a buddy in seminary that, I don't know where he got this, but I buy it and I'd like to see it. He would say, actually, that another way of saying that, logos or word, is meaning. So in the beginning was meaning, and meaning was with God, and meaning was made flesh. The meaning of life. I mean, because what do words contain? Meaning, right? So I don't want to say that's exactly, but I think it does work in conjunction, because there's something about Christ who it's more than just God spoke. He brings meaning to life. The meaning of life is in Jesus. And now, the meaning isn't just floating out there, it's made flesh, right? So in following Christ, like we find the meaning of life. It's a big deal for the human person, right? We like meaning. Things are meaningful. And that's something unique to the human person. Like animals don't get that. We can say something, a command, they can do it, but they don't get the meaning that's conveyed between the two. So that's what this gospel, this prologue of John will do to you. You just like go off in these little rabbit trails and who knows where they go. But I think so whether it's meaning or just the word made flesh, the church puts this in front of us like, hey, this is the way forward. As we're preparing for the new year, the word of life, following the meaning of life. Jesus, God in the flesh, is the way forward. He's the way to the fullness of life, whatever way you want to look at that. And he's not an idea, he's a person to follow. So we celebrate this nativity, but as we're kind of closing out the octave and then moving into the new year, like stay in that lane, stay in the vein of following Christ. He brings meaning to our life regardless, but he's also the meaning of life, the word made flesh. In him we find what we're all looking for, the fullness of life. He does lead us home to heaven, but he also teaches us how to live this life here on earth, how to live a meaningful life.